Warsh, any comments on the Powell investigation?
Okay, Mr. Warsh, and now here's Emily.
This is a time of great consequence for the nation's economy. As a former Fed governor and friend or colleague of the last 5 Fed chiefs, from whom I've learned plenty of lessons, I'm particularly alert to the challenges and opportunities confronting the institution that I cherish, the Federal Reserve. To the President, to the Congress, the nation, I owe my best judgment and my most faithful efforts in serving the mission that you and Congress assigned to the Federal Reserve, including full employment and stable prices.
All nominees disclose all of their assets and showing that Mr.
So let me be very clear. Monetary policy independence is essential. Monetary policy makers must act in the nation's interest. Their decisions the product of rigor, deliberation, and unclouded decision-making. And as Senator Warren said, I do not believe that independence of monetary policy is threatened when elected officials state their views on rates. Fed independence is up to the Fed. That has 3 implications. First, Congress is tasked with the mission to ensure price stability. Inflation is the Fed's choice. Second, Fed independence is at its peak in the conduct of monetary policy. And third, as the chairman said, the Fed must stay in its lane. I'm committed to ensuring that the conduct of monetary policy remains strictly independent, equally committed to work with the administration and Congress on non-monetary matters that are part of the Fed's remit, and I commit myself to accountability.
Done as well within 90 days, be not only in compliance, but to have divested himself.
If confirmed as chairman, I will be faithful to the Constitution, to the Federal Reserve Act, and to the very best of the Fed's traditions. I believe a reform-oriented Fed can make a real difference to the American people. And if confirmed, I will seek to create an environment in which the best people do their best work.
Kevin Warsh, that he has up until 90 days after confirmed to.
Will you disclose how you divest those assets, or will you just collect a check for $100 million from someone whose whole business is betting on what the Fed will do?
As I said to the ethics officials at the Federal Reserve and the Office of Government Ethics, they agreed,
I'll take that as a no as well.
I would be redeeming my assets
Donald
before
Trump
I take
has
office.
made clear that he does not want an independent Fed. In fact, he has said, and I quote, "Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." And he's made clear that you are his sock puppet, saying last week that interest rates will drop, quote, "when Kevin gets in." Yeah, I think they do. Not when economic conditions change, we'll get lower rates. Not when the economy needs it. Nope. He said, when my guy, Kevin Warsh, is in there, we'll get the interest rates that I, Donald Trump, wants. So independence takes courage. Let's check out your independence and your courage. We'll start easy. Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the Federal
I'm just
Reserve.
asking you a factual question. I need to know, I need to measure your independence and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in 2020, the Fed made a huge inflation problem, and you certified the election.
So let me ask you another question.
Out of monetary policy.
In our meeting, you said you would
politics.
be independent because you're, quote, a tough guy. Those were your words, tough guy. And you will be able to stand up to President Trump. So let's try it again. Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other areas.
I'm asking for something
that's not something I'm prepared
Donald
to do.
Trump on.
If
just
I'm confirmed, the Federal Reserve should stay in its lane.
Just one little place where you disagree with Donald
Well,
Trump.
I do have a disagreement, actually, Senator, with the president. I think even this morning, he said that he thought I was out of central casting. I think central casting, I'd look older, grayer, and maybe show up here with a cigar of sorts.
Quite adorable. But you know, we need a Fed chair who is independent. That's the only way we preserve the independence of the Federal Reserve. If you can't answer these questions, you don't have the courage and you don't have the independence.
I agree with you on independence.
I will ask you, however, that under your leadership, how will you steer the Federal Reserve to address the real life issues of affordability is my first question. And my second question will be about how do you make sure that the Federal Reserve stays out of the lane of external influences?
And while it's true that inflation is less problematic, meaning the rate of change in prices is less severe than it was some years ago, hardworking Americans are no doubt feeling it. I think that means a regime change in the conduct of policy. I think that means a different new inflation framework. I look forward to working with my colleagues at the Fed, if confirmed, to achieve that. I think it means, as you suggested, using tools differently. The Fed has an interest rate tool and a balance sheet tool. My view is the interest rate tool gets in the cracks. It's fairer. The balance sheet tool disproportionately helps those with financial assets. The interest rate tool hits the entire economy.
In compliance if he executes agreement that addresses the concerns that have been presented by some of my colleagues in the